Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Leading the Charge. How's everybody doing tonight? Matt Bove, Dom Tibbetts, Howard Simon. Hi, Howard. Good to see you, sir.
Hi, fellas. How we doing?
Howard, it was nice seeing you at the grocery store the other day. We just kind of stopped in the middle of an aisle and talked for 15 minutes.
Yeah, and Dom, I got to tell you, I've never seen so much candy for a little girl in one shopping cart.
Yeah, that sounds right. Are we sure it was just for a little girl, or maybe we're talking about a little girl that might be on the stream with us?
I didn't think about that, or it could have been for Matt.
Yeah. Well, we were sitting there and somebody came up to us and they were immediately wanting to know about the Buffalo Bills. And Howard and I obliged, we were talking about the show and what we thought. But I think it's crazy because the last time we did the show and you were here was the day it all went down, was the day that they fired Sean. And now it's been a month. Any different feelings from when we first talked about the decision up until now?
By the way, Dom, Matt's not telling you the truth. The couple we met in Wegmans was all about whether you have gotten your raise yet.
That was That's all they wanted to know.
That was, and then it was, what do you think about the Bills coaching change?
Right. Quick answer, Howard. We'll get back to you. No, haven't. Now back to you.
I said, ma'am, do you see how full this shopping cart is? That money's going to go somewhere.
That's Dom's raise. It's right here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. For me, with the Bills, no. I mean, I think things have changed as I watch the playoffs play out. But as far as the Bills are concerned, nothing's changed for me, guys. Not a single thing. I'm not big into press conferences. Yay or nay. I've learned my lesson over years. I used to react to press conferences and thinking, wow, the new coach or the new GM is going to be great based on what the press conference was, or is going to be horrible. Actually, most of the times when the press conference was horrible, they were bad. But, I mean, Greg Williams came in here, and I thought the Bills were going to win the Super Bowl. He was like, all you-know-what in vinegar and Rex Ryan. So, honestly, I watched Joe Brady. I watched Brandon Beane. But, guys, nothing from that changes me. It doesn't mean I feel better about their chances next season. Doesn't mean I feel worse about their chances next season.
I guess to that point, too, Howard, does that change – more so because Brandon Beane has, I think, the power, being the general manager, can quickly kind of change the narrative around him this offseason before Joe can. So do you think Brandon Beane has a chance to maybe change your perspective, change your mind, and maybe some of the other Bills fans out there that kind of feel like you, if he can be proactive when free agency opens up here in a few weeks?
It's not just free agency, Dom. It's trade. You remember, one of the best moves Brandon Beane made, of course, Josh Allen was the best, but one of the best moves he's made in his whole time here was trading for Stephon Diggs. And I know it didn't end that well, but man, he came here and he made it a different offense. Yeah. He made Allen better and he made the offense better, and the Bills woulda, coulda, shoulda a Super Bowl appearance. So yeah, I think it's actually incumbent on Brandon Beane to improve the roster. You can make the coaching change, and that's we've gone down that road before with the discussion, but the roster wasn't good enough. So I think he can change the narrative, guys. If he, first off, I think we all want impact wide receiver. How he gets it, I don't know. I would think a trade is probably easier than free agency. I don't think it's coming in the draft because I still think they're going to give a priority to defense on day one in the draft. So I think he needs to make a big swing and trade for a receiver. There's a couple names out there. I know A.J. Brown is out there and other guys might be out there, but that's how he changes the narrative. Stop telling people the wide receiver group is fine. It isn't. Do something about it.
Your comment perfectly goes to one of the questions we just got from Scotty. So, Abby, if you can pop that up on the stream here. It says, if Beane trades his first-round pick, would you trade for a stud wide receiver or stud defensive end? So the way I'm going to phrase this is, if they make a trade, what would you prefer? Or if they keep the asset, what would you prefer? So it's if they make a trade and use the first-round pick, or if they just stand pat and use the pick, what's the bigger priority?
I mean, for me, guys, I'm not going off offense. That doesn't mean they're actually going to do it. I would first off trade the pick and use that as part of a package to get a wide receiver. That would be the very first thing I would do. If they can't do that and they keep the pick, I'm still thinking offense. But I'm telling you, if they don't trade the pick and they keep it, they're going to go defense. Linebacker, edge guy. I mean, a lot just depends on what Jim Leonard is going to do and the scheme. And if they're going to 4 linebackers, guess what? They need more linebackers. So I think if they keep the pick, I think they're going to address defense on the first day.
Can I ask a quick follow-up real quick?
Yeah, of course.
Nope.
What if what if I told you the edge rusher was Max Crosby? Does that change it? Because that is a full-blown all-in splash, whereas the wide receiver could be a Marvin Harrison Jr. And
Yeah.
while that would be intriguing and have upside, I think Max Crosby certainly makes you a better team right away.
He does. And I mean, this might come back. I'd ask you a question. So you're saying if they do that, if they make the trade for Max Crosby, that negates a wide receiver trade of impact?
I would imagine that if they did that, let's say that involved their first round pick, because it naturally would, their plan better be to use a second round pick or another supplemental asset on getting a wide receiver.
Yeah. I got to be telling you, I mean, I'd be nervous. I get it. Crosby's a game changer, and it probably is the sensible move, Matt, because now, the offense, you could still get the offense better in the offseason, but now the defense all of a sudden becomes a different monster.
Yeah.
So you're probably right. I feel like I'm on the wide receiver hill to die on. So I would still prefer the wide receiver, but when you really think logically, you're probably right, because that makes the defense. Now you have a guy in defense who scares the living, what, out of other teams. And the Bills don't have that guy right now.
I feel like this was Von Miller, right before the ACL injury during Thanksgiving.
Yes.
I mean, this was exactly what he was brought in to do, and he was, and then he just wasn't the same afterwards. It's a little bit clouded into Matt's point here, Howard, but I said this last week on the show, is that I watched another Super Bowl where I saw the defensive line be the ultimate unit that swung in the favor of the winner in this game. So when you think about where the Bills need to be, that is their next step, is getting to that game and then hopefully winning that game if they're there. Does that influence the decision? Because I think I'm like you. I think a wide receiver is the bigger, higher need in this situation, but you're also seeing an edge rusher, a really solid defensive line, come in and make a big effect in the biggest game of the NFL season.
Yeah, that's why I think, Matt, to your question, I don't want to sound like I'm contradicting myself, but in terms of the larger goal of trying to get to and win a Super Bowl, I think the Crosby move would get you much closer to that than trading for a Stephon Diggs type of trade. But guys, here's the problem. This offense needs to be much better. It's lost its scariness, and you can't guarantee me in the second round or third round of the draft that guy is showing up and having an impact next year. And it's quite possible the last guy they drafted in the second round as a wide receiver, if he's still here, might not do a thing. So I'm really, really worried about that position. Having said that, Matt, you're probably right. If the goal is to make this team good enough to win a Super Bowl, you would raise the defense much higher, and it would become a unit closer to helping you win a championship than the wide receiver trade, I think.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you guys said. Even without an elite wide receiver, though, you could make the argument, hey, the offense was still pretty good, right?
Yeah.
That they did not have their fastball, and I think of the way that the season ended. They had the ball in overtime with a chance to go win the game, and they came up short. I think Josh Allen certainly takes accountability in that, because there were some plays that he would want back. I don't know if one receiver is enough, though. So it feels like that's got to be the place to start. But I think this offseason needs to be about getting two new wide receivers. And because even if they go out and they get one guy, unless it is an elite guy, that's still not enough to me.
Yeah, you're right. But if you get Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis is much more effective. There's a trickle down effect. It's like Channel 7 is looking for sportscasters, and they go trade for Matt Bove. Well, and then they bring in Dom Tibbetts. Now, of course, Dom is not a Matt Bove, but Dom Tibbetts is better because Matt Bove is on the roster with him. How's that for an analogy?
I think that's a great analogy, and that's the perfect way to set us up for our first break. So sorry, now Dom can go cry for a couple minutes while we take a quick break. So if you were new here, the way we do this is, if you're watching on TV, we are going to take a commercial break because, we like to make money. If you're watching on the stream, don't go anywhere. We'll answer your questions during this little portion. So if you're watching on TV, we'll be right back.
Dom, why did you smile when you said the thing about making money?
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, just happy somebody in the sports department's making money.
You should have saw my cart. just high-end Wagyu
all
beef,
organic,
Wagyu beef,
organic produce.
Organic stuff.
Yeah.
You know me, Dom.
Beauvais
You know
was,
me.
so you guys were at Whole Foods. Meanwhile, I'm at Aldi's, which is a great grocery store, by the way. I love
Dom,
Aldi's.
do not say the name of the grocery store in case another grocery store is advertising with us.
Oh, it's
You
fair.
have to disguise it by saying
You have to disguise it. So like
Stegman's.
Schmegman's.
Stegman's, yeah.
See?
Oh.
Look at how on the same wavelength
That's
we
right.
are
You have
right
to,
now.
so now nobody knows which one. Actually, there's special aisles for like 15 items and less, 10 items less. There's one aisle for $200 and more. That's the aisle Matt went to.
That's
Got
the
it.
one I was in. Yeah.
Got it. It
Yeah,
makes
that
sense.
was
Must
just
be
for
nice.
beef. So yeah.
Must be nice, fellas.
All right. I'm sorry. You're supposed to get to a question. My
No,
bad.
we're good. Dom, you want this one?
Yeah. Matt asks here, hey, fellas, happy offseason. Happy offseason to you, Matt. How do you see Bean revamping the defense, parentheses, via addition and subtraction to align with Leonard's vision? Also, parentheses, see what I did there?
I did see what you did there, Matt. Thank you for the fun there. Howard, you want this one? Or you want me to have it?
I'll go ahead, guys, and I'll throw in my 2 cents worth if you're wrong.
I think that there is going to be a real emphasis on linebackers, and that's actually what Howard brought up. But I think that they need to, and actually, I think that Terrell Bernard will fit into this nicely because I think he's going to be a better fit now than he was before. I also think Dorian Williams is going to play a factor here. The Matt Milano piece is fascinating to me because I have no idea what they're going to do. And there's a lot of like monetary ramifications that come in with Milano, where if you extend him, it actually will be easier on your cap than if you just let him go and then there's a huge dead cap hit. So I think linebacker is going to be the thing that we need to talk about the most, even though the most impactful thing they could do is go out and add an edge rusher.
Yeah, and another Matt on here also said, too, to your point, Matt, he had asked about where Terrell Bernard's fit is. He said Dorian Williams greater sign than Terrell Bernard here too. So going off the linebackers, I think you're right there too. I also think the secondary, right? Like we have gotten used to, and I'm not going to remember the exact amount of years, but we have gotten a real luxury and just kind of the used to fact of having Taron Johnson in that nickelback role. I don't know, because I'm just not studying Jim Leonard's defense maybe as much as the next person, but I don't know where a guy like Taron Johnson's role and what he fits into the secondary. So the secondary to me is also going to be a really interesting piece. And it feels like they have two solidified corners in Christian Benford and Max Harrison. Trey White, we talked about this last week too, Matt. I don't know what they do with Trey because it feels like Trey is still able to play at a level where maybe he could be a cornerback too for another organization, but he would probably be the third cornerback in this role in Buffalo.
Dom, 10 seconds. We'll come back. Stand by.
Got you.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Matt Beauvais, Dom Tibbetts, Howard Simon. Actually, Howard, I have a question for you. This is something we were talking about before the show. It has nothing to do with football. Do you know what Seven Brew is?
No.
Seven Brew is the new coffee spot on Maple where Scotch and Sirloin used to be. Is it on Maple? It's right over there by the Wegmans.
Yeah, it's on Maple Road. Yeah.
It's creating a lot of headlines because apparently the traffic has been very bad over there. Have you noticed that? That's relatively close to you.
No. But I've been on Maple a couple times lately, but I haven't noticed any crazy traffic.
Oh, I was hoping you would have some like scorching hot take about what
Howard also doesn't strike me as a guy who's going. You look at the promo images for coffee at Seven Brew. Howard doesn't strike me as a guy who would go out every day and get the kind of triple shot of caramel mocha frappuccino.
I thought it was some drink you guys took in the newsroom. I have no idea.
If they want to sponsor us, Seven Brew Channel 7.
Would make sense, wouldn't it?
We're more than open to that. Dom, I cut you off during the commercial.
Brew,
Yeah, Dom, I cut you off during the commercial because we were coming back. So you can finish. You can pick up your thought if you'd like. I'm sorry.
No, we were just getting towards the end of it because the question was, how do you envision Jim Leonard's defense being envisioned and what Bean has to do this? And you had brought up the linebackers during the break, man. I was just saying the secondary. I just think Taron Johnson's role is really questionable with the way the Bills move forward, depending on what they want to do, because it feels like they have two solidified cornerbacks in Christian Benford and Max Harrison. I don't know where Trey White fits in all this. I don't know if they get him back. It feels like he plays his best football in Buffalo. It feels like Trey likes to be in Buffalo. I think maybe gets a hometown discount in there, but that's just not an assurity because Trey White, I think, played above expectations. So that's where I would also think the secondary is going to be a big change under Jim Leonard.
Howard, it's kind of funny that a couple of years ago, the secondary was such a major question mark for this team. And now it feels like maybe it's the strength, right? I mean,
it really was.
Because Cole Bishop has emerged substantially.
We went into the season, what was it, 2 years ago? No Hyde, no Poyer. Trey was a cap casualty, and we're just looking at going, who the heck is going to play? And Bishop now is a strength. Dom, I mean, I don't know, but I know Joe Biscaglia, one of our colleagues here on the show, has written about the possibility of maybe Taron Johnson goes to safety. And then he plays alongside Cole Bishop, and then you have Benford and you have Maxwell Hairston, and you go from there's your base four, your core four in the secondary, and you go from there.
The only question I have with that is that Taron Johnson would be like a really high paid safety at that point.
Yeah.
And are you really willing to pay somebody out of position that much, which is questionable.
But if you don't want to do that, and you're not sure about his fit at cornerback anymore with the scheme change, then he could be a cap casualty.
Definitely.
I didn't look and see whether they'd save money or it's too much dead cap. Quite honestly, guys, I don't know, but I assume that might be in the discussion.
The thing is too is like with that,
it's post June 1, it's like $9.5 million.
Ooh, wow.
But then next year, then it plays a factor next year.
Right.
The thing with Taron, I think why it could make sense in a world where you could shift him to safety too. Who's moving him out of the spot? I mean, is there really anybody else that anybody feels very strongly like, no, that's going to be our bona fide safety, right? Like to me, it could work just because I don't know if like Taylor Rapp coming off injury is going to push him out there, right? Like I just don't. There's nobody that jumps off the page to me. It's like, yeah, that's going to be the safety paired up with Cole Bishop. It could work. And if Taron Johnson stays in the Bills and finds a meaningful role there, so be it. I could see it.
Can I throw a name out there? Do
it.
Jordan Poyer. Interested?
He played well, better than I thought, guys. I did. As Dom is talking, I'm literally in my head thinking, can they squeeze another year out of Poyer? But I'd better have, like, you draft well. Jordan Hancock's on the roster. I was going to say, you better, if you're going to try that, you need to have a guy you're fairly confident if Poyer hits a wall, you have somebody who can hop in and play right away.
Yeah, I just don't know. Besides Hancock, but Hancock was getting taken advantage of when Poyer left the game in Jacksonville because of the injury. I mean, yeah, Scotty says here, time for Hancock to step up.
Yep.
It was a really weird year for Hancock. He was kind of all over the place. Then he had an injury, even though he was kind of ascending. So I don't want to write that player off because it is important to remember we were having these exact same conversations about Cole Bishop, even into the start of this season. And then all of a sudden, he just completely changed. So safety is a position that I think we need to pay attention to, but it's not nearly as significant probably as what they do on the defensive line and what they do at linebacker. Howard, where do you think the more notable investment goes?
I would think linebacker. I mean, if their base is going to be a 3-4, you'd love to get a really impact outside linebacker rusher that can make a difference in your pass rush. If they're going to be aggressive and they're going to need, they're going to be blitzing more and doing all these things, I think you need to get a really good outside linebacker.
And just look at what Denver, I mean, I know Jim Leonard was not the defensive coordinator with the Broncos last year, but I think of where he just was and how that defense, I kind of think you're going to see eerily similar tendencies and schemes in some way, shape, or form. And I think about who the playmakers are on the defensive side of the ball for the Broncos. It's what does lead me to believe that there's going to have to be some sort of revamp and change. They have pieces. Like the Bills definitely have pieces that could make this defense turn into maybe what the vision for Jim Leonard is. But there is going to have to be some sort of change. And the variance of significance, I guess, is just TBD at this point.
Is there any scenario you could imagine where the Bills trade Cook? Absolutely not. No chance. I think the big name players we need to keep an eye on are Taron Johnson, as we have mentioned. Ed Oliver is another name that just kind of keeps lingering in the back of my head, even though I don't think that would happen. Anybody else, Howard, that immediately comes to your mind?
Or cap cuts
just
or what?
anything. Like last year or Dawson Knox is a good one.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like every year there's a surprise.
I think he would be a surprise, right? I don't think Deion Dawkins would be a move.
No.
Because I think we're anticipating they might lose both Edwards and McGovern.
I think
and
so.
The last thing you want to do then is also lose your starting left tackle. So if I had to say, I would think Knox is a likely candidate for that.
I mean, the low hanging fruit trade one is Keon. I mean, that's another name where, it's just,
but what do you get?
You're just trying to recover at this point. I'm just saying, it's a low move, just trying to get back what you could, but that's another name that just jumps to my mind. I agree with Howard. Like Dawson Knox is a really interesting candidate for a trade. I just don't know what you get back, but also, is he willing to really take a hard restructure? He has liked Buffalo. He likes being here. Maybe he's somebody who just sees value and finds that more than the monetary.
George asked a good question. We'll answer that during the commercial break because I think that's a good question. Really quick, you guys think Keon is back? Howard, what do you think?
Yes.
Yeah,
I do too. Actually,
I mean, I wouldn't personally do it, but I think they're going to give him another shot.
Joe Brady said the best thing for Keon Coleman was him becoming head coach. We'll see if that lives up to it, right?
Listen, I think Keon Coleman is more valuable on your team than trading him for a 6th-round pick. And it feels like right now that's probably what the return would be. So that doesn't feel very inspiring. All right, we have to take one more commercial break, which we are going to do right now. So if you're watching on TV, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. And if you're on the stream, we're not going anywhere. All right. Do they bring back Trey White? I think that's a really interesting question because a month ago, I would have said unequivocally, yes, it's not even a doubt. But with Sean McDermott not as this team's head coach, now I have absolutely no idea. What do you guys think? Howard, we'll start with you.
Well, if they're going to change, they're going to be a little bit more man coverage, apparently, right? In Denver, they were more man coverage than the Bills were, right? Mm-hmm. The Bills are primarily a zone defense. If they go to more man coverage, that doesn't bode well for Trey White. I would love to have him back if he's willing to play for like a veteran minimum and be a depth guy because you never have enough cornerbacks. I would bring him back in that scenario. But again, it's what's their scheme? What are they doing? If they're playing a lot of man, I don't think Trey at this point can hold up in a ton of man coverage.
Yeah, it's so the McDermott being gone thing is such an interesting wrinkle because that's a guy like Beauvais says, oh, I would have thought, X amount of time ago, a month ago, that Trey White absolutely would have been back. Shaq Thompson, to me, absolutely would have been back if it wasn't for the fact that Sean McDermott's now gone, who I think everybody would have agreed would have been a great piece for this defense to have. It's kind of the same thing Howard says. You've got to find a way to make it work for both sides. And Trey does strike me as somebody who I think would take some sort of maybe a slightly above a veteran minimum, maybe something where the Bills show a little bit of sign of faith. Because I think his play, especially in the playoffs, the Jacksonville game, I think of a lot too with Trey, really did warrant some sort of respect that, hey, we can give him maybe a little bit of something to stay here. But I also think there has to be the other side of Trey giving into the Bills a little bit because he's not their cornerback 1 or their cornerback 2. They have to put faith, right, into Max Harrison, their 1st-round pick, a guy that has the speed that they have to show. They did it with Kyer Elam for all those years, and that never worked out, but they still gave him the chance. I feel like they got to do that with Max. That's why Trey's value, he's a cornerback 3 if he's on the Bills, but a nice backup piece to have.
We have to be done by 7:26. So we are now, looks like we're about to be back on TV momentarily.
You TV people with your constraints.
That was a test. So okay, that was a test. So at 7:26-ish, we're like 7:26:30 is when we got to have the hard out wrap. I know Howard is notorious for being late.
I'm always out on time. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about. So I'll wrap us up at that point. Let's talk about Tyreek Hill for the last segment because I think that's something a lot of people are talking about. And there's a couple questions. I think we're about to come back. We're still 30 seconds away. I don't think Tyreek Hill's a good idea at all, for what it's worth.
I don't think they would want the off-field stuff that he's been dealing with.
Yeah, I tend to agree. But at the same time, everything we thought we knew, we now don't know because it's completely different.
It's a 1-year deal, veteran minimum. We'll give you a shot at camp at best.
Sure, that's fair. All right, we're coming back here. Stand by. All right, welcome back, everyone. Final segment of Leading the Charge here. A couple of questions about Tyreek Hill because he was released today by the Miami Dolphins. Any interest, or do you think there's even a chance? Howard, we'll start with you.
I mean, there's always a chance. I wouldn't think they would do it. He's coming off an injury. He's had some off-field issues in recent years. In my scenario, the only way I'd even consider this is a 1-year veteran minimum, no bonus. Buddy, you come in, and we'll give you a shot at camp, and we'll see if anything comes from it.
It feels like he's going to probably end up with either the Chiefs or the Ravens, right? I mean, his injury status is a major red flag. Dom, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to say yeah. I would absolutely take a shot on Tyreek Hill, but for the same points that Howard brought up, it has to be for a veteran minimum contract, maybe slightly above. He also has to probably go to a team where he feels like he can win and have success. I think the Bills probably fit that, like a Chiefs, like a Ravens, some of these other teams that have been kind of rumored to be maybe having interest in him too. But I always go back, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong because you both were covering the team. But after the 13-second game, I feel like in that offseason, there's a quote from Brandon Beane saying, if I could get a Tyreek Hill kind of guy, I already would have had him. Somewhere in there, if my mind is remembering this correctly, they now have a chance. It's 5 years, a little bit too late probably, but they finally have a chance to get it done. And I just like the excitement of what maybe just if you try to wring out the towel on Tyreek Hill's juice in his career, maybe you get just enough to spark this offense and create a big matchup problem that the Bills just haven't had.
Howard, 30 seconds or less. Do they make a big move, a splash move this offseason?
Yes. I mean, either a trade for a clear number one wide receiver or the Max Crosby type of guy to help your pass rush. Yes, major move.
It'll certainly give us something to talk about if they do that. So I would be really, really pleasantly surprised because I don't know. I think that they will, but at the same time, you never know. I love the callback to the Stephon Diggs move because when they made that, at the time, I think we were all like, hey, this is going to help them. We didn't know how much it was going to help them. So we shall see how it ultimately plays out. That is Howard Simon. That is Dom Tibbetts. I am Matt Bove. Thank you all so much for watching another episode of Leading the Charge. Next Monday, Dom will be in Indianapolis joining us live from the Combine, so plenty to talk about. We'll see you guys soon. Have a great night and have a great week, everyone.